All right, who's your favorite Batman character and why?
Joker, because every great king needs a jester to keep him humble.
That's a great answer.
Well, good for you. No, I was going to say Joker too, but I'll just go ahead and say Batman.
I mean, Batman's an interesting... Batman's a character that's like... he's like a planetary body, and all the interesting things gravitate around him. And I just think, like, Joker's kind of in the same vein, but also, like, gravitating around Batman. So it's like one of those moon-sized planets around Jupiter, so...
I just think Joker's the best supervillain of all time.
I mean, yeah, because he needs no motive beyond, like, because it's fun to him. So, like, you could create any Joker story out there and it would make sense. Like, you could do a story where, like, he kills a ton of people and it makes sense. Or you can do a story where he, like, robs a bank and gives it to an old lady. Like, and that also makes total sense. You never know.
He just has to justify it and explain it to the rest of us. What about you, Koji?
I was going to say Joker too, so it's
all right.
Okay, so Joker it is.
I actually teach off of the Joker movie in
really?
some of my classes. So
cool.
Not the Joker movie, the Dark Knight, and then the Joker character in Dark
Yeah,
Knight.
yeah. So good.
So it's amazing. This is episode number 4 of the What If Pop podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Koji.
And I'm your other host, Katie. We dive headfirst into the intriguing and imaginative world of pop culture's most fascinating what-if scenarios. In this episode, we're asking the question, what if Batman's parents didn't die? This week we have a special guest, Dorian Black. Woo! Introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm Dorian Reyes Black. I've written about comics for multiple publications, including Screen Rant, Nerdbot, and I've hosted panels at Comic-Con for Heavy Metal Magazine. Huge comic book nerd, huge pop culture buff in general. Anything that is like lore related, anything that's like a franchise with an enriched mythos, I just gravitate towards that. And I love talking about it. So thank you for having me.
Me too. I'm excited to hear how you're going to contribute to our what if scenarios tonight.
I've been thinking about it a lot. So.
Are you a Marvel or DC person?
So when I was a kid, I was Marvel because like I'd grown up like, okay, Batman the animated series, like Batman's not even DC. He's just a whole other echelon of like comic book. He defies like branding, so he was just Batman. And then I was like, but X-Men and Spider-Man, like those were things that I really liked as a kid. And then as I got older and I started like really like kind of learning about storytelling, learning about script writing, learning about like the deeper fundamentals of what makes like storytelling and mythos and all that, what makes those interesting, what makes it like a human art form, I started gravitating more towards DC because those characters, granted, they're less mortal per se, but I feel like they fundamentally say more about the human condition. Like Superman, I thought was the lamest character as a kid, and then the more like I started to like read like the deeper stories, like the stuff from the 80s, like Death of Superman, reading about just more grounded storylines with him in it, where the people were the main characters of the story and Superman was more of just this like figure that was in it. I was like, wait, no, hold on, never mind. Like Superman is the story of the American immigrant. Like the Batman is the story of like...
He's actually an undocumented immigrant.
Yeah. Pre-pandemic, I was at a protest against the like refugee internment camps. And I went there in my Superman cosplay with a big sign that said undocumented immigrant with an arrow pointing at me. And even the kids there that did not speak a lick of English at all, they knew that character and they knew what the character was. So without even being able to like read the sign, we were just like, oh yeah, you're like us. You're here for us. We get it. And that there's an elemental quality to that where like you don't actually need to be American to know who Superman is. You don't need to be American to know who Wonder Woman is. And I feel like DC, those characters, you know, they're older and, you know, some would say they're more old fashioned or they're outdated, but I think they do more to show us who we are as a society and what we strive to be.
The human condition is eternal, and people keep just replaying that story for the modern era. Yeah,
absolutely. In seeing like Batman is another good example of it, because I started seeing him through like a different lens. Like I would say like through college, because I started reading like Dark Knight Returns, Batman Year One, the like Frank Miller stuff, some of the like some of the Neil Gaiman stuff, Alan Moore, like reading the like deeper psychological Batman stuff, I was like, oh, this is a guy that has no powers but lives in a world where like being a billionaire, it gives you a stupid amount of systemic power, but you're also fighting gods, you're fighting aliens, and this is a guy that says, okay, fuck it, I'll do it. So
Yeah.
that's also elemental too, and it's a big part of like Odysseus from like, you know, you look at the Odyssey. This is a mortal man that just gave a big middle finger to the gods and was just like, let's go, I don't care, take the gloves off, we'll do it.
I always felt like between Superman and Batman, I generally really like characters who seem to actually struggle. They are not like Wolverine at one point is like, I don't know whether I'm a good guy or a bad guy. I just am who I am. And I like very much appreciate them contemplating those struggles over until we talked about it. Like I was like, Superman just has everything handed to him on a silver platter. He's just perfect. And I was like so annoyed. But like now I'm intrigued. Now I'm gonna like learn more about Superman. I'm gonna give him another chance.
You look at every version of Superman that isn't Superman, like Homelander from The Boys. There was like the kid from Brightburn, Omni-Man from Invincible. Every version of Superman that is not Superman is evil as hell, because the true struggle of Superman is not against like whatever threat he's facing. The true struggle of Superman is not becoming evil himself. It's not like the guy that cuts him off on the freeway to not heat vision the hell out of him.
Yeah,
to, like,
that's true.
not-
Like what restraint is he? How much restraint does it take to not like get angry and crazy?
It's like the story of America. I mean, after World War II, we were the only country with a nuclear weapon, and we didn't take over the world. Because in most societies, if they had a nuclear weapon that could destroy an entire country, they would be the rulers of the entire world.
Oh yeah, and that's and to an extent, I think Superman is what we strive to be with that. Like America is not perfect, but
Wait,
what
stop. Wait, you're telling me
you haven't
slavery?
heard our Donald Trump episode.
there are so many problems with America, but what we strive for is that Superman element that you're talking about of like,
It's
we have
true. I never thought of it that way.
We have all the power in the world, and wouldn't it be nice if we only used it for good? Now we can't do that. It's impossible to do that, but we try.
Everything's so complicated.
It is. And there was you're talking about like Superman being angry. There was in like 2000 there was a story where Lex Luthor becomes president, and when he sees like Luthor winning and he sees him like win the presidency, Superman goes into space and is so angry he punches an asteroid to bits because he is so pissed off.
Thank goodness it wasn't a man.
But he couldn't show it. He's like, no one can see me mad. If somebody sees me
They
mad,
have to look up to me.
Yeah, so he has to go into outer space and punch an asteroid to get that aggression out. That is what he lives with. At the end of the day, he's still a dude. He's still a dude with normal emotions that he has to regulate endlessly.
What was the first comic book that you bought or read?
It was a Ninja Turtles comic. It was TMNT versus the Land Shark. I still have that comic. It is torn to bits because I did not take good care of it. I did not bag and board my stuff back then, but I still have it. And it wasn't even like the first issue of the comic. It was like issue 3 of 5, but it was the only one I had. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And like, I barely knew how to read, but I was like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to decode this because I want to know what's happening. And yeah, that was the first one.
I want to know these turtles.
Yeah, right. It was like, they seem interesting.
Who's your favorite turtle?
Donatello.
Why?
Because he was the smart one. Like the rest of them were all kind of like jerks to different. Okay,
Well, jerks, but
Raph had like anger issues, which now today I actually feel like I kind of relate a little more to Raph. I do like Raph's his like dynamic with Casey Jones, because he also has like hardcore rage issues. So like the two of them kind of like trying to be buddy, like, okay, let's regulate together, man. We can do this.
Breathe.
Yeah, right. Well, Leonardo was always kind of just a little bit of he was kind of pretentious, a little
kiss
too,
ass.
Yeah, a little too like, I'm in charge, guys. It's like, why? Because you're the blue one? That doesn't make any sense. And like Mikey was cool, but Mikey didn't take anything seriously. So like Mikey would be the one that like, okay, we need to get serious, and he'd still be like in a corner like breakdancing. It's like, no, bro, you need to get your head in the game.
And their powers combined, they somehow accomplish something.
I think I wanted to be Michelangelo, but I was probably closest to Raphael.
Yeah, I feel like we all relate to Raph. He just has like, he's not the best at anything. So
But he's angry.
He's angry. He was the like,
passion.
Channel
He's
that
the passion one.
passion.
Yeah, and he's
for
got
something.
I mean, I would if I was the only like if the only members of my species were like my siblings, I would be pissed too.
I thought you were gonna say turtles, but maybe that's a double whammy.
All right, should we get started?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we answer the question, it would be good for us to get some background. In Batman's origin story, Bruce Wayne's parents, Dr. Thomas Wayne and Martha Wayne, are murdered by the mugger Joe Chill in an alleyway after leaving the Monarch Theater in downtown Gotham. The trauma of the murder inspires Bruce to vow to fight crime in Gotham City as the vigilante Batman. Bob Kane created the character Joe Chill, who first appeared in Detective Comics 33 in 1939. And now that we have the background, let's give our answers about what would have happened if Batman didn't die.
Batman's parents didn't die.
Batman's parents didn't die, exactly.
Even though we talked about this on the last episode, I do want to go down this rabbit hole because my first thought, and then I have another one that's like, is that he would what if he became like the Joker? Because maybe he lost, I mean, we don't know. We would have to like see that timeline play out. But like, what if he like lost his sense of like vigilance and vigilante and justice, and he's like, I got nothing better to do, I'm gonna cause some chaos? Or he might have become an art student and been
you have to choose one. You can't
dull.
Which one is your answer?
Oh my, I think if I'm being really honest with myself, he probably just would have become an asshole businessman.
I mean, yeah, that it's funny that I remembered all of these different like scenarios and like Elseworld stories where that happened, that Thomas and Martha Wayne
it's
were
like
not.
nurture versus nature.
Yeah.
And how can we know if any one person is going to lean one way or the other?
But I really put a lot of thought into this because the moment you ask me anything Batman related, I'm like, okay, let's go down.
there.
Let's just do this. So Batman Superman number 18, we do see a Bruce Wayne who lived a normal life, and he is a complete and utter coward. He's basically what you said, kind of like a douchey billionaire. He's what you would expect a douchey billionaire to be, who's like, pretty much lived his whole life with his parents, never moved out of his parents' house.
Well, okay, so to counter that though, even though, look, now we're going backwards and his parents did die, like he still chose the better path, sort of, mostly. So maybe that's just his character.
With nature and nurture, and a real life example of this, because I was, again, deep diving into this. The former Prince Harry, the prince formerly known as Harry.
The one that lives in LA now?
The one that lives in LA now, the one who wrote a book called Spare. Great read, I would highly recommend it. But he talked about, like, his mother, Princess Diana, passing, and how it was just this horribly traumatic event for him in so many ways. Not even just losing a parent at the age of 13, which is like not that much older than what Batman was, but like the way the tabloids treated it. There's a Batman story. It might have actually been in the Arkham games, but like after his parents are killed, a reporter asks him, what does it feel like to be orphaned into the Forbes 500? And like, that's a question you're asking a child that question. So like, he's a billionaire, but for a child to have to run that gauntlet of people just constantly harassing you, constantly being like, yeah, your parents died, but you're still a rich little jerk.
I think they talk about that. Sorry.
I was going to say, so one of the Malcolm Gladwell books, he talks about how, when like the presidents, almost all the presidents had one parent die young while they're young. But also at the same time, most of the people in prison had some kind of tragedy like that as well.
Yeah.
So it's like you either become this, and also same for writers. Most of the successful writers had a parent who died early.
I believe that.
And so what ends up happening is that you either go like and become this amazing human being, or you go to jail. But like because the prison, I mean, the vast majority of prisoners in penitentiaries are actually people that came from homes that were broken because of death.
Right. It can go either way.
It goes either way.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of times it just becomes like, so he became Batman, but I wonder, if he went the other way. But anyway, go ahead, continue.
You look at like Harry and William, those are siblings, and they went in vastly different directions because Harry basically tanked his life for years and years and years and then served in the military because he wanted to have some semblance of normalcy that he felt could like serve some form of greater good. And you can argue about the military, whether or not that's like the greater good. But in his head, he was like, I want to be a normal human being. I want to like serve my country. I want to do something. So he like served like 2 tours in Afghanistan. And then when that wasn't enough, he like ended up with like Meghan Markle, who is like an actor, but like as far as like royalty goes, like he found a normal human being and was just like, screw my family.
This is the life that I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just gave his family the middle finger, gave the crown the middle finger, said, I want nothing to do with any of this. And he left. And all of that spawned from him, from Princess Diana's mother dying. And that was what it took for him to realize, like,
long journey.
Yeah, I don't want to be a part of this system. This system is terrible. This system contributed to the death of my mother. I just want to be a normal human being and get the hell out. And
so what do you think would have happened?
If his mother hadn't died? I mean, you'd probably just be another like William clone. He'd probably just be a clone of his brother would be my guess.
Okay.
He would ultimately, like, what consistently happens in the comics is anytime you unkill Batman's parents, you negate Batman. He has no reason to be Batman. He has no reason to be anything better than what he is.
Deepest character iceberg, or not iceberg, but like
there was
MO or something.
I don't know if you guys watch Teen Titans Go, but there was the movie and Robin. It's a very like kid friendly, like cartoony.
I
like,
loved
show.
it.
The darkest moment in there is them having to go back in time to re-kill Batman's parents to create Batman.
No.
So like Robin like literally just like shoves the Waynes into the back alley and you just hear the gunshots and the pearls drop. And you're like, this is a kid's show.
Yeah, well.
So wait, what do you think about Batman? What do you think would happen to Batman? Do you think he would have just been a normal dude?
I think he would have been just not
Prince
any different
William?
than Elon Musk. Yeah. He would have been, because there'd be no reason
Out of touch with reality, not concerned with like what other people are going through in Gotham, but just being a part of the rich elite.
Or you would just straight up be a villain. Like, again,
Back to the Joker. But maybe different than Joker.
Probably different than Joker.
Maybe
There's
more like Two-Face.
Maybe. There's this MMORPG called DC Universe Online, and one of the like raids is a time travel like episode that you're playing, and the plot of it is Lex Luthor goes back in time, saves the Waynes from being killed by Joe Chill, and then goes to like little 8-year-old Bruce like, I'm your friend from the future, Lex Luthor. When you meet me, I'm your best friend, and creates like an evil Batman who's like pro-capitalism. So his whole like villainy is just being a billionaire. He's just like, I'm a rich jerk and I don't care. Ha ha. Like, because that's pretty much what you would end up with.
You know, your guys' instinct is probably the right one. But, you know, I mean, also I could say that I think that on some level, people are who they are. You know, I have one of my tattoos I have on me is that it's a maktub, Arabic word, and it means that it is already written. And so, like, maybe, you know, just to play devil's advocate, maybe Batman was supposed to, Bruce Wayne was always supposed to be Batman.
Like, no matter what happens, we keep making the same kind of trajectory
and
decisions.
there's always going to be tragedy, you know, because to play devil's advocate, his parents were good people, right? They were like, they're always known as like
That's
helping
true.
people, being nice. And like, he wasn't like the Elon Musk figure, a rich person. He was always like giving to charity and stuff, right? And helping, being helpful. So maybe he would have taught Bruce to be a good person. Maybe he'd be a different Batman. Maybe he'd be like, what if he was going to be a better Batman?
Maybe he'd be
like,
Superman.
Because right now, I mean, the thing about Batman now is that he's on the line, right? He's always like good or bad. He's kind of doing that. But what if what if he just became the good version of it, where he didn't have that like darkness, and he was just like a hero to be a hero?
There's more stories about Bruce Wayne in sort of fake realities that touch on his parents not dying than he's been in actual realities where his parents haven't died. Like, there was a episode of Batman the Animated Series that was titled Perchance to Dream, in which he wakes up in a world where like his parents are alive, they're healthy, he's engaged to Selena Kyle, who's not Catwoman, he's not Batman, he's just having a normal happy life. Like, everything in his life is exactly the way he wanted it, and his brain cannot cope with it. His brain is so ingrained in that tragedy. That tragedy is in his DNA, that his brain will not accept the illusion of it. And there was another, it was an audio drama by David S. Goyer, who also wrote the Nolan Batman trilogy. That was really good. I highly recommend it. It's on Spotify. But he wrote a story where Bruce Wayne just wakes up in this reality where, again, parents are alive. He is he's for like a forensics analyst, so he, you know, his obsession is like with murder victims. Like he will figure out like how they were killed. He gets justice for them, and that's his entire life. His entire life is getting justice for the dead, but through being a doctor, you know, being the way that the only way he could like actually do it, being a forensic pathologist as opposed to like being a costume crime fighter. But even then, in that scenario, his brain could not process being that happy.
Who he is. It's in his
written. DNA. If we're talking about nature and nurture, I mean, you kind of need both of those things for Batman. You can't have one without the other, because Batman is a mix of genetic aptitude, like the amount of like, you would have to be so able-bodied to do what he does, and you would have to have a brain that could just process everything.
He is very smart.
You would need all of that to be Batman, but then you also need the tragedy to like drive you to be like, okay, this is what I'm going to devote every second of my life to. I'm not going to have a healthy relationship. I'm not going to have like a family that is like, you know, biologically mine. I am just going to devote every ounce of my energy into this one thing. You would need that. I feel like you would need some motivating force, and I think all of the dominoes would have to like fall just precisely to get that. But I do like Koji, your explanation is definitely the most optimistic, that he might be a better Batman. I would hope for that, but I also I don't know, maybe I spent too much time in LA. Like, I do not have like a high opinion of humanity. Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, everyone's a villain. Everyone's a villain in some way. Everyone's like just one really bad day away from like just saying screw it. There is another continuity though, Flashpoint, where Bruce dies and Thomas and Martha survive, and Thomas Wayne becomes Batman.
Whoa.
And Martha Wayne becomes Joker.
Whoa!
We're talking about and they're both like super toxic. Like, Thomas Wayne kills. Like, he's not like, I'll never kill.
Not
I'll
the
never
good Batman we know.
Yeah, no, he shoots people. Like, he's pro gun. He's just like, I am the law. And Martha Wayne's kind of in that same vein, but like doesn't have the illusion of doing it for a greater good.
She's just
like,
lost.
Yeah. And the grin, it's self-inflicted. She does it to herself because like Thomas is just like, you know, you need to smile. I missed it when you used to smile. And
she's like, oh, okay, really? Yeah. Oh, really?
Tell me to smile.
How do you like this?
Yeah.
Role playing.
So which answer do we like best? Which one do we think that is the most realistic and the one that we think would be the best?
I think Koji's is.
I like yours, Koji.
Yeah, because yours is optimistic.
At the end of the day, I have to have hope. Hope is really powerful, and my hope would be that Batman would be an even better Batman.
So you sound like Superman at that point. You sound like a Superman fan when you say you believe in hope. Because Superman's about hope. Batman's about justice. But
well, maybe I'm on the line.
There you go.
Maybe I just want to see marshmallows burn. Okay?
I would love to see...
I do love seeing marshmallows burn.
Yeah. I think you need tragedy in order to humble him, because without that, I think the problem with people that are born rich in general is that they don't have a baseline for how normal people live. Like, it's not that they don't want to, it's that they can't. It's like trying to understand like a different species, because you're just like, you live this life where everything is handed to you. You never have to worry about money. You never have to worry about a damn thing. How are you ever going to relate to someone with a 9 to 5 job?
But that's actually why it would make more sense that he would be ultra good guy, because typically when you have more money, things are more black and white for you. Like, there's less gray. Like, you're either good or bad. And so he would be like almost like a do-gooder kind of good. Like, he has a very idealistic idea of what good is. And that might not, that's different than now, because the Batman now is about, you know, like I said, he walks the line, right? He walks the line of being good and bad because he understands that like his life is good and bad, right? It's like about getting revenge for what happened to him, but also just to bring peace. And sometimes you bring peace by doing things that aren't always great. You know?
I've constantly through this conversation thought of, I think both Gandalf and Dumbledore say that like sometimes it's not about like who you kill, but who you choose to spare. And it's kind of like that's what he struggles with. Am I going to spare someone, or am I going to be like, you know what, you're just intrinsically bad and I may not kill you, but somebody else nearby might because of me.
I mean, I feel like he spares everybody. That's what the no-kill policy.
Yeah.
I mean, at least in the comics. I mean, the movies, he kills people
the new
all the time.
one.
I mean, I think they tallied it out, and Michael Keaton has the biggest body count out of all of them.
Oh,
like
really?
in the first movie alone, he drops that bomb at Axis Chemicals and blows up like 50 dudes.
Yeah.
That's all one scene. Like, he kills people a lot. Even in Batman Returns, he drops a stick of dynamite down a dude's pants and then kicks him in a sewer, and then he blows up. There's it's cartoonish violence, but like, they tallied it up. Michael Keaton has a body count, and I think it's actually bigger than Ben Affleck's. But it's whimsical violence, so it's
I'm sure someone's studied that.
I'm sure if you go on YouTube right now and did like Batman body count movies, like you would get like at least 10 different videos that like analyze it.
Yeah, because I could see him being like, wanting to work with the police, wanting to work within the government, wanting to. Because right now he does a little bit, but he also does his own thing. Yeah, Commissioner Gordon, and I think that to me because I think that the other thing about being wealthy is that you get bored.
Yeah,
and so this could be his like cosplay in a way, and what like when you cosplay, you want to be. The hero. Like you don't want to be kind of a vigilante. You don't want to be. So maybe he cosplays like being like Superman, but without the superpower.
I think the other question you have to ask, and you just made me think of it right now, is his mission rooted in revenge or is it rooted in justice?
Like that's the thing. I think when you don't have tragedy, you have to make it up. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's why he's the, like we talked about main character syndrome. He's the main character. Mm-hmm. So he wants to be the hero. So to me, like he'd be almost like a do-gooder in that, like always trying to be good, always trying to be a good person. And
always framing the newspaper's headline to be, look what a great thing I did as this superhero.
Yeah.
It is worth noting that, especially in like the comics, and I feel like also in like other forms of media, like in the last decade and a half, they have focused more on Bruce Wayne being a philanthropist. Because before, I mean, when he started out, this was like 1939, like rich people were just like considered the like upper echelon. I feel like there's a lot more criticism of the wealthy now. And with that, they were like, okay, we can't just make him be like a normal rich guy. He has to be we have to show him donating to charity. We have to show Bruce Wayne, building, highways and
that's
building
actually ironic because the wealthy of that period actually gave more money.
Yeah.
Than the wealthy of now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's partly, I think, why we're critical of them now, too.
Yeah, because back then, all the nonprofits that we basically know are all started by that generation of wealthy people. And then in the baby boomer generation, basically hoarded money.
Yeah. And then now it's like most of the donations go towards admin, apparently.
Yeah. No, I mean, it depends on the charity.
It depends on the charity, but I think it's just something that's come to light for a lot of major charities.
But the point is not it doesn't matter what people give. I mean, if like you're Rockefeller, you give like $20 billion, then that's what started a lot of these foundations. Those people were giving money. So like Wayne Enterprises would have given like a lot of their income.
The rich also used to pay the most in taxes too.
Yeah, they used
until
to.
the 80s.
Womp womp.
Well, even before that, I think.
Yeah, I mean they're
trickle down. It's trickle down.
The wealthy used to pay all of the taxes, and they were mostly okay with that. And now we live in a wealth gap society. So I feel like Bruce Wayne being a billionaire in like 1939 was like, he's a billionaire, what a great guy. And now it's like, he's a billionaire, get him.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I think that he would be like, he'd see the world black and white. Like, I'm doing good, I don't understand. And he wouldn't understand how maybe he's not doing good.
Yeah, I kind of have a theory that like our brains, like our caveman brains, like try to keep us from experiencing as much pain in a moment as possible. Because like, I just feel like our brains like are made to compartmentalize, and that might be why. Like,
I don't know though, because I mean, like my dad died when I was young.
Yeah.
And like my whole life is around my father. And so like it carries with me everywhere. So I don't know if like I would compartmentalize that. It's
maybe I'm a compartmentalizer, and I'm trying to.
Because it's like, I mean,
hope
like,
everyone else is.
I mean, there's like I've talked to my son about this. Like we've talked about the fact that like my dad died, and that's one of the reasons I'm a writer. Like it's not a coincidence. And I said, like, would you rather have me around or be successful? And that's that's the dark question. And it's like it's kind of the thing. And so it's really interesting in this scenario with Batman. It's like,
son, you have a monkey's paw right now. You can wish for success.
Although speaking of monkeys, I did ask my son, would you rather be the smartest monkey or the stupidest human?
So how do I turn my tragedy into success?
Right?
waiting, looking at the clock.
Let me ask you this then. How do you feel like you would be fundamentally a different human being if your father hadn't passed away and you hadn't experienced that tragedy?
100% I wouldn't be the person I am today. Mm-hmm. I mean, everything that I did was around this idea that, for example, like I thought people would die young. Like my understanding was people died young and would leave me. So I had to work hard and fast and young. And so I'd spend like a lot of my childhood working really hard and like pushing myself in ways that none of my friends were pushing, whether it was baseball or, or writing or making movies and stuff.
So you're Batman.
But it was like, it was like this push, that like if whatever I was doing, I would want to do it because I thought I had a limited amount of time, because my understanding was everybody I loved would die, including me, and so in the same way for Batman, it's like the people he loved and cared about him died and he had nobody. I mean, he had Alfred, I guess, but basically he was by himself,
It's nature and nurture combined,
Yeah.
You had the genetic ability to hyper focus and to push yourself that way, but then you had the motivating factor of experiencing death at a very young age. Those two things combined made you who you are.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I could have got the other way and just been a criminal too, right? I mean, that's the alternative.
I'm so glad you became successful so that you could have been my writing teacher.
There you go.
And we could talk about Batman.
We could talk about Batman.
Go. I think that's also fundamentally, I mean, what always drove me to Batman was that I think the two biggest measures of a human being are how they cope with tragedy and how they cope with power. And if you have, Batman has both of those. He had to cope with tragedy, and you got to see how he coped with it and how he handled it and how he handled the new normal of that. And you also get to see someone with like a crazy amount of systemic power. And if you're able to pass both of those litmus tests, like I think you are actually like morally a good person. You might not be perfect. Nobody's perfect. But if you're able to like, okay, this terrible thing happened to me and I'm not a criminal. I'm not like taking it out on the world. I'm not paying it forward. Okay, that's test one. Okay, now you've got like $20 billion. What are you going to do with it? Yeah. Oh, you're not going to be a jerk? That's test two. You passed both. Cool. Good job.
And I was just having this conversation with somebody about, Donald Trump versus Biden, right? Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like, there were these moments with their fathers that defined who they became. So like with Donald Trump, there was a famous moment where he lent his dad money or something. He gave his dad money or something. And then he asked to get the money back and his dad laughed and said, like, you're stupid for giving me the money. And that was the lesson he got from his dad. Whereas there was a story from Joe Biden's dad. He worked at a car dealership. And the owner threw the money on the ground. So then all the like workers had to go get the money, like they're like animals or something.
Oh God.
Like he'd refused to go get the money, and he just walked away with it. And he told Joe about that, and I think that it says a lot about who Joe is now from that experience. So I wonder, like bring it to Batman. Wayne or his father was a good guy. And probably would have taught him the good side of things. So I don't know if he would have been a bad guy ultimately because, his dad was pushing him to be good. And, I don't know. That's just my thought.
His parents also died when he was so young that he couldn't understand nuance. Like, I don't think you truly think of your parents as flawed human beings until you're like a teenager and you've been around them long enough where you're like, wait a minute, I don't think that sounds right. You don't question your parents until you're older. They died before he got to like really see any of the like cracks.
They could have been doing something shady. Maybe
which like in the Batman,
they're idealized
in
his mind.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool take on the like Thomas Martha Wayne deaths was when in the Batman when Bruce is like, wait, my dad worked with the mob? What? And like it was complicated. It wasn't a thing that was great, but, it's Gotham, so we had to work with shady people to get things done sometimes. And having to, like, learn that into adulthood, like, oh, yeah, your dad was complicated. He was good, but he was complicated. He had complicated relationships with the power structure here. And having to cope with that, like, wait a minute, the guy that I've, like, put on a pedestal that I'm, like, beating up criminals in the name of, like, he wasn't perfect in every way.
I would imagine it's hard to keep your hands completely clean in Gotham.
You can't keep your hands completely clean when you're rich. I mean, that's the thing. You're dealing with so many different variables. Like, if doing one thing, it's like a butterfly effect. You do one thing here, you're destroying something over there. It's, like, impossible not to when you have that much power. And it's not even necessarily evil. it's the nature of the world. It's the nature of balance. It's like you give here, you take there. That's just how it is. And
so what are we saying? What would happen? We have to come up with an answer here.
I think we all agree that. I mean,
I want to believe.
Yeah.
I want to believe.
We want to believe yours.
That he'd become a superhero.
He'd be a superhero of some sort for good.
For good. He'd try hard, at least.
Canonically, he would just be a normal dude. But I would like to believe he would be... Or he'd be a normal billionaire, because billionaires aren't normal. But, like,
he'd cosplay, like you said. He'd he'd go to the hospitals and cosplay.
He would go to, like, secret fetish clubs. Like, secret... That's how he would get that out.
We need to go down that rabbit hole. We're being too nice. Like...
He has a leather fetish very clearly. So, like, he would go to...
Oh, my gosh. Catwoman?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know those, like, secret clubs that the, like, senators and stuff go to? Like, he'd be a part of that. He would, like... He'd donate to charity. He would try to, like, be a good person. But I don't think he would, like... He wouldn't be bleeding for Gotham. Not in the way that he does, like, as Batman. But I would love to believe he would still be a genuinely good person. That is the most optimistic view on that, and I need more optimism in my life.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the hardest question in the world. If you could have any superpower, what would you choose?
I get like a dumb amount of anxiety when I hear that question.
Right?
Because like I always worry about who I'd be with unlimited power, and that's kind of going back into the Batman thing. It's like, what would I do if I had like a stupid amount of power and no consequences? And it gives me anxiety because that's just like one of those things that does. Like, I'd love to have the ability to read minds, but that's like a huge invasion of privacy. So like I'd be reading minds and I'd feel guilty about it. I'm like, no.
Or you might not want to hear.
I don't want to know.
You might not want to know.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like the number of times, like the number of
Poor
bad
Jean
thoughts
Grey.
the number of bad thoughts I have about people. God, it would just feel like a cacophony of people telling me they hate me, and that would be awful.
Oh no.
The time travel would be like ideal, but again, like
true.
You talk about like how you could unravel reality just by like doing one like misstep, and like invulnerability would be fun, but then again, like what if I got a god complex because I couldn't be killed? Like that would freak me out. So like I think the least abusive power, like the one that like it would be hard for me to abuse this power. Flight would be fun.
Yep.
I could show off.
Yep.
I could just put on a mask and just be like,
you could go places.
Yeah, I could just be like David Blaine and be like the Flyman, like,
Ta-da!
whoa, look at me, I'm magic.
You could probably make money.
Oh hell yeah, I'd make tons of money doing that. But like, I'm not gonna turn evil because I can fly. Like, there's like, I mean, I probably could do certain things. Like, I could like grab somebody's like car or something and like move it up somewhere and be like, haha, I get it now. But like, it'd be difficult for me to like systemically abuse flight.
I would want to stop time.
See, and again, we're going into
and like fix little things like Quicksilver did.
No, I would just
stop
time so I could then do whatever I wanted to. I have time. I could do anything I want. I could steal money.
Time.
I could get into Disneyland. I could go to I could get on a plane. I could go anywhere. I could go on anything I wanted. I could do anything I wanted to.
Benign evil.
That's cool.
No, I mean, cause I'll steal money, but I'll steal from the bank.
Okay, like, that's the bank's money. We don't care. That's fair.
Nobody cares about
that's
that.
valid.
Or Elon Musk's money or something.
Yeah.
I could steal money and I could live and I don't have to have a job.
Vigilantes.
Well, not even. I'm not doing it for other people. I'm just doing it for me. I could do anything I wanted to.
He's like a quarter Robin Hood. It's like I rob from the rich
and I keep it.
Yeah.
So I'm not Robin Hood at all.
Yeah. So it's like you're taking
this one for you, two for me.
There you go.
And I could just hang out and do whatever I wanted to.
Yeah.
And I could nap when I need to. And if I'm like on a deadline, I could just write like with the time, and like we always say we don't have enough time. Well, if I could stop time, then I have enough time,
I've seen too many episodes of Twilight Zone. I feel like that it would end badly. Like I would just feel like stuck and everybody else would be stuck, but I'd be moving and then I'd have to deal with that.
Oh,
yeah.
gosh.
But imagine if I played football, I could play in the NFL because I could just stop time and then move like an inch. And then they would like run past me. I'd be like, "What is that 5'10" guy? How can he dodge all these amazing people?" Because I stop time. That's why.
I mean, you go to Vegas just stop time and just look at the dealer's hand and win at poker.
I don't have to look. I don't have to look though. I could just put my own cards on there. I can just pick the cards.
You could play roulette and just like move the ball to like the black and then be like, I win.
Have I mentioned you're my best friend?
But if I wanted, like, if there's a bad guy, I could kill him because you know?
Or
I could kill good people too, I guess. I could kill anybody. See, this is
already we're seeing
you could move bullets
before our
out
eyes.
of the way.
Yeah, I could do it.
Power corrupts.
Yeah.
So much with that, and already I feel like we're seeing like a supervillain origin before us. So that's why I don't want that power. I would say no to it. Flight would be fine because flight, I wouldn't be like, okay, I'm gonna murder people with flight.
While you're mid-flight, I'd kill you.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god.
Not if I was flying. If I was in the air, I'd be like, good luck getting to me. I'm like,
But you're frozen.
But I'm 2 stories high.
But I could just climb in the sky because it's.
You can climb in the sky.
It's like
Get a
me
very
playing.
tall ladder.
It's like me playing Tears of the Kingdom and gluing all the ladders in the entire world together and finally getting to you. And well, Koji, here's your super long ladder. Like,
What about you? What would you do?
So yours would be the gooey power from Tears of the Kingdom. Where
holy
you could fuse
moly!
stuff
Okay,
together.
I do want to touch on that. First of all, didn't win Game of the Year at the Game Awards. And my take is, if I'm playing every other game wishing I had the abilities I had in Tears of the Kingdom, I think the wrong game won. But moving on. So I really stress out about questions like these because I feel like I have to like pick one and then it's gonna happen or something. So Batman was my first favorite superhero. And then the next superhero that really moved me was Wolverine. So I think, although I would love telekinesis or telepathy or something, I wish not only could I heal, but I could heal others too.
That's a good power.
And then I would heal you from Koji on a super tall ladder trying to kill you while you fly.
Well, I want to bring up something that's interesting because when I talk to people about things in general, like one of my questions I always ask is, if there was no laws, how different would your life be? And like my answer is like, maybe I'd speed a little bit more on the road. Like, just because there's no laws, I wouldn't go murder somebody. I wouldn't go rob a bank.
I still have my moral compass.
Yeah, like I still like, so even if I had the power, I wouldn't like, I don't think, I mean, I hope, that I wouldn't like change that much. I would try to like I said, I would try to steal from people that I don't care about, but I guess it's stealing still. So what am I saying? But
stealing from,
like, I don't care if I'm stealing from a casino. I don't really care if I'm stealing from a bank because they have it insured. It's like ultimately.
I mean, banks or whatever. The banks steal from people all the time.
Yeah, like, or I could I could steal back from people I guess. If I wanted to.
No.
What I'm hearing is, whether you want to admit it or not, you really do want to be Robin Hood.
Well, I think people. Yeah, I would love
the
to help
rob
people.
from the rich half of Robin Hood.
And Robin Hood and Batman are very similar. So
keep some of it.
you are Batman.
Yeah, that would be awesome. But yeah, so wait, so you want to?
I would not only like the ability to heal myself, but others too.
Like to live forever, or just?
I listened
Could you heal old age?
I listened to a very creepy story about what happens when people live forever. So I don't think it's good for people to live forever. But I mean, like, when people have cancer and it feels like, they would have lived longer if they hadn't had cancer, or they got shot in the heart with a bullet, and they would have survived, and it's gonna mess with the butterfly effect so bad, and people are gonna be so mad at me. They're gonna want to kill me for not doing everything they want. But like,
they'll be like, why didn't you help my mom? Why didn't you help my dad?
In an ideal world where everything would work out perfectly and it would be stress free, it would be nice if I could heal myself and others, and we wouldn't have to go to the doctor all the time.
I read somewhere statistically, if you like were ageless, like you just never were sick, like ever, like you would never get cancer, you would never get any sort of like life-threatening ailment, you would only statistically live to like about 300 because you would die in a freak accident.
Yeah,
so
something
like,
would happen.
Yeah, something, you get struck by
lightning.
What if we could choose?
What if we could choose, like, you know what? I'm tired of this and I'm really done at like 267.
Would you be able to do that though? Would you be able to be like,
we'd have to make a law.
I'm 200 years old. I'm 200 years old.
I'm too many years old.
But you're still physically young.
I don't know that I'm necessarily keeping people young so much as like not allowing them to die tragically young.
But how do you choose this?
Exactly.
That's the problem. How do you choose this?
Because
another
podcast.
Because people have to die.
That's our next season.
People have to die.
What if Katie could heal everybody?
I mean, that would cause so many problems.
It would. That's why I have to tell myself, and now I'm having to tell you too, that this is not real.
That's a bad.
We are not getting these superpowers.
Wait, I'm not going to be able to stop time. This sucks.
But when
I want to just be Loki. Can I just be Loki?
What are Loki's powers?
Yeah, what are Loki's powers?
I think he has every power.
His power is mischief.
What is having the force of power, superpower?
The Force?
Can I just have the force?
I mean, the Force is like a mix of powers.
You're basically a space Christian.
In one word.
It's precognition, telekinesis, and
now healing.
sometimes electrokinesis, sometimes healing.
Yeah.
And you have to choose between being good or bad, mostly.
Although, and you could wield a lightsaber like
Without
Rey.
cutting my finger off?
Well, Rey, I mean, she's not like she had no training, and all of a sudden she fought, what's his name? And all of a sudden she could beat him with zero training, and this guy's been training all his life.
Yeah, that's called plot armor.
Plot armor. Also, maybe arrogance.
No, it's just bad writing.
I liked Rey as a character. I just wish they had given her more of an arc. I don't think they really knew what to do.
They had
with
no
her.
arc for her.
No, they didn't. It was just like they should have.
It was a bummer.
Yeah, like I've heard that Luke is a Mary Sue too. I'm like, the difference between Luke and Rey was that Luke was an idiot in the first one. He like was annoying as hell.
Arc.
He knew
Whiny.
whiny. Like I would, even when the first time I saw it as a kid, I was like, man, I hate that Luke Skywalker. He's so whiny and annoying.
Plugging
And he got his
Koji's
arm.
class again, I learned about the hero's journey.
Yeah, but then by the third one, he's just like, he's calm. He's just like, I'm gonna let this, like, I'm gonna follow my conviction. I'm not gonna interrupt people constantly. I'm not gonna whine about things. So like, that's an arc. It went from being the most annoying character in Star Wars canon to like objectively cool.
He also lost.
Yeah, he lost a hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, he lost the battle. Battle, right?
Yeah.
I mean, overall, they won the battle, but he lost his personal battle there.
I mean, he also lost against Vader too.
As well. That's what I mean. He lost that.
His sense of self.
So then, like, I mean, that's what the problem with Rey is, that she won everything all the time.
I don't think she lost a fight.
She never lost anything. No.
Yeah.
Somehow she, like, like I said, like she was able to fight without training.
Yeah.
Like.
Because even Luke wasn't like useful in the first one at all, like except for the very end with the
I got one.
Yeah, he does like he takes out one X-wing and then he manages to like blow up the Death Star.
Yeah.
But every other battle he loses.
Yeah.
Like that cantina scene, he was gonna get tore up from the floor up until like Obi-Wan showed up.
Yeah.
And then even with like Han could have beaten him up easily. Like Han could have like taken him into like a dark alley and mugged him. Like that was Luke Skywalker in the first one. And then in the second one, like he got beat up by that like Yeti thing, like the Wampa. So like, yeah, he got beat up by a Wampa.
And he got saved by Han. So.
Yeah, he got beat up by a swamp monster. Like he got punked by like a little like troll goblin.
Ego
like,
punched from Yoda.
Yeah, he just was like, he was a joke in the first one. In the second one, like he did better, but he still you're right, he still lost a lot. And then in the third one, like, yeah, he was pretty much like OP by the third one, but he still lost at the end when like Palpatine was just like Force lightning like that.
Yeah.
Ray never.
Ooh, that makes me excited for a future episode we're gonna have.
What if the sequel trilogy were not done by Disney?
What if they were actually
so many
written
things.
What if they actually planned the episodes out?
Yeah.
No.
I heard that Rian Johnson really doesn't like J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
So when he took over, he was basically like, I'm going to undo everything this guy did.
Yeah.
Just
And
to
that's
screw
why I
with
want
him.
John Favreau and Dave Filoni for president.
Yeah.
I'm making t-shirts.
Yeah, because those have fluid continuity.
So thank you, Dorian, for coming on with us. Please tell us where people can follow you.
You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. All of it is Dorian Reyes Black, just as it sounds. And yeah, follow me. I'm always talking about nerdy stuff. I'm at conventions. Next one, I got WonderCon coming up. I've got Anime Vegas, which I'll be emceeing at. I'll also be at Comic-Con this year, and I will also be at Anime Pasadena and Anime Riverside.
Thank you so much for listening. There are almost 3 million podcasts, and we're honored you've chosen ours to listen to. Follow us on Instagram to see what we're up to. And be sure to tune in next month, where we'll be answering the question, what if all food tasted the same?
Life would be terrible.
I feel like
it better taste good.
We'd all be in shape, though.
Yeah.
It's like I could eat like a
get
cheeseburger
tired.
or I could eat broccoli. It all tastes the same.
Yeah, I was telling my wife was going through chemotherapy and she couldn't taste anything. I was like, you should just eat boiled chicken and raw broccoli, because what's the difference between?
Yeah, I mean, you'd be healthier.
You could just eat with no salt or anything on it, because what's the point? But then life would be terrible.
You'd be losing one of the key vices that makes humanity great.
I love food.
Yeah, me too. Food doesn't love me back, though. Especially as I get older, food does not love me back.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dorian.